We lose track sometimes of the strategic center of gravity of what is social entrepreneurship. And it is indeed, in my judgment anyway, empathy.
Warm welcome to tonight's keynote speaker, Jonathan Lewis.
Well, this is really terrific to be here. One of the things you learn as you go from one cluster, one energy source of social entrepreneurs to another, from one country to the next, is that we have some common characteristics. And it's, in a way, the unspoken, dirty little secret of social entrepreneurship, and what I think really does, in truth, attract us all to this space. First of all, we have more fun. We get better tables at restaurants. We're better looking. We tell much better jokes, and you should look around you. We're decidedly more sexy. And so, on the hope that some of that's going to wear off on me, I am very glad to be with you tonight. I'm also happy because I don't get a chance to talk about this thing we call empathy in social entrepreneurship very often. And I want to commend the Radius people, the Ashoka people, all the other folks who had the insight to put that on the agenda and put it front and center stage as part of the conversation that we need to be having among ourselves. It's so easy as social entrepreneurs to lose ourselves in the tactical side of the equation. How do we raise money? How do we balance budgets? How do we recruit new people? Where should we be? This country, this theory of change, that model, and so forth and so on. And in the end, we lose track sometimes of the strategic center of gravity of what is social entrepreneurship. And it is indeed, in my judgment anyway, empathy. It's an easy word to say. We all want to be more empathetic, but it's very hard to do. It takes an incredible amount of personal energy, a lot of focus, and it's particularly hard to do on the tough days when you feel battered and bruised and worn out by the seeming flood of no's and negativity that comes your way. My favorite historian in the United, or now he's not alive anymore, but when he was around in the United States, a gentleman named Arthur Schlesinger used to say, the moral advantage of being the architect of many losing causes is highly overrated. And I think sometimes social entrepreneurs feel like they've been the architect of many enterprises, many failures, and the feeling feels a little, the glory of it is wiped out by the pain and the sadness which comes with that. The nice part is, if there is a nice part, is that those failures, those disappointments, the drudgery, the feeling dwarfed by the enormity of the world's problems, gives us that seed, that little genetic whatever inside us, to be empathetic to the suffering and the pain and the travails and the misery at those who, for those that are not part of the economic engines of the various countries in which we work at. One of the interesting things about doing the Cafe Impact video series that I did, we interviewed 20 social entrepreneurs, not rock stars, but mid-career, everyday, garden variety social entrepreneurs, making it happen, kicking ass, doing stuff, but not really at the Nobel Prize winning level yet. And I went in blind on what we were going to ask them. I made up a bunch of, thoughtful, weighty, policy wonk kinds of questions and didn't know what I was going to get back. The universal feedback came down to do three things. Witness injustice firsthand, become self-aware and empathetic, be a good listener. That was it, time and time again. Now, they use different vocabulary, They put it into different contexts, but that was the repeating theme of the Cafe Impact series. I just saved you watching, let's see, about 60 hours of video time, so you're welcome. Where I'm going with this is the success quotient for your enterprise, and maybe even your personal life and your ability to balance work life and social entrepreneurship and all of the things that we struggle with, is empathy. And the bedrock foundation for empathy is your ability to listen. Good listenership matters a whole lot more to social entrepreneurs than a great elevator pitch, your brilliant business plan, or your clever idea. Good listenership. Good listenership is the predicate for networking, for mobilizing a political movement, for wooing financial backers, for networking, for most of the process skills that we need. Listenership. Listenership empowers you to not only hear, but to act on your client needs and your stakeholder concerns. Listenership reverse engineers the paternalistic impulse to export first world solutions into third world communities. So I'm very happy to be part of this gathering because I really do strongly believe that social entrepreneurs need to speak more often and much more loudly about the learned attributes of good personhood. First among them being empathy, but also courage and compassion and conviction. One of the experiences that I had a few years back, I found myself in Berlin, and I'm a pathological museum goer, and I went over to the City Museum of Berlin, which is not one of the marquee museums of the city, but it's quite nice. It's a distinguished museum in its own right, but they tend to show exhibits of the history, naturally, of the city of Berlin, go figure, you know. And they were doing an exhibit that caught me a little bit off guard. It was the experience of the Berlin City Police during World War II. And as you walk through the exhibit, it was the normal thing you would expect. They showed the weapons, they showed the atrocities that were perpetrated by the police, how the police got wrapped up in collecting all the different communities that were out of favor in the moment, Jews, Gypsies, Catholics, so forth and so on. And they had one small room off to the side. And it was to honor and pay tribute to the Berlin police who stood up to the Nazis. And as it turns out, there were a large number of Berlin police officials who in those days were given paper, the names of people they were to go collect, to put on the trains and send to the concentration camps and the work camps, who would take names off. And because everything was paper and it's wartime and one thing or another, basically they were saving lives at great risk to themselves and with a terrific ethical dilemma. Because remember, these were police officers sworn to uphold the law. And we do tend to forget sometimes that Hitler and the Nazis were a duly elected government. And so in the early days of the regime, they really were wrestling with matters of great conscience and at great risk to themselves, their careers, and their families. But nonetheless, many of them took great risk. In almost every single case, the determining factor about whether or not they were willing to take that risk was empathy. And it was usually because they knew someone and they had a personal relationship. It was their kids played together, or their wives shopped, it was all male police officers, their wives shopped together, or some human connection, some empathetic human spark. And it's that spark which gave them the courage. And it's your empathy which gives you the courage to be social entrepreneurs. And that's why I'm proud to be part of you. Thank you very much.
Because we can't not assume, that's why empathy becomes really difficult.
I need to get people who don't really think about whether their t-shirts that they're ordering are coming from a sweatshop and turn them into people that do think about it.